Thank you for coming this afternoon, everyone, on such short notice. I'm Karen Taylor of the Color Vowel Chart and Head of Education at Blue Canoe. I'm here with my colleagues, Penny Williams of Blue Canoe and Jennifer Campion of Color Vowel, and all of you some of whom are already teaching with Color Vowel. Maybe you're not, you're using Blue Canoe though. And so we thought we'd come together and offer this session as a way to provide support with the idea that sometimes after that break, it's hard to get students up and running again, or maybe you didn't get a chance to get up and running in the fall. And so I would like to start by opening up the floor and just ask what's going on with Blue Canoe and you, and what kind of blocks are you facing that we might be able to help you with. And that might be technology, that might be feeling like the students are ready, that might be feeling like you're ready. So I'm going to go ahead and open the floor that way and have at it. And we can open up mics and please feel free to speak.
No, I've felt free to speak already, but I just want to say I'm new to it. I've been introduced to this. Elizabeth Quillen has recommended using it in the classes I'm going to be teaching here at Mason, Korea. So I'm all ears.
Okay, great. So this will be a new foray for you to get started using Blue Canoe with your students, as well as Color Vowel. Is that right, Michael?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Okay. Hi, Helen.
Hi, this is Helen from Pennsylvania. I rolled out in January to 15 students, and to my dismay, I was just looking at Klipfolio, that's what we call
Klipfolio.
it.
Yeah.
Klipfolio, thank you. I still have 50% of students not engaged, not even in activating their accounts yet.
Okay.
I don't think that's a Blue Canoe problem. I have been surprised by how difficult this has been, considering that it's an app. And I think for so many of my students, an app would be like second nature. So I'm a little surprised by how really hard it's been to get my students engaged. But once they are, the students who are using it are just gushing and gushing and so happy. So all I'm saying is I'm surprised that it's been this hard.
All right. Wonderful. So far, this is great, Helen. This is super helpful. So Michael said, I'm new. And I'm going to do sort of some polls so I know, we don't want to spend all of our time brainstorming the blocks if many people have them. So who's like Michael and is new, or feels pretty new? Okay, great. Philip and Luella. Okay. And then in addition, we had Luella. And then we had Helen, who said, what's up with the students? I had higher expectations for how quickly they would do this. Who's like that? And if you are not able to show your screen and show your hand, you can chime in on the chat or however you wish to say so. So Emily, what's your thought on that?
Well, we had such a great experience. I was fortunate enough to have Karen join one of my classes to get introduced with them, and they loved it. And I think my problem is we incorporate it a lot now. Like they'll come across a word and they'll remember the techniques that we've used and we'll go through it together. But I think what Helen said about the engagement on their own is a little difficult. I think unless I'm going to assign it and say, this is worth X amount of credit, you have to do X, Y, and Z, and I have to see it. And I don't really want it to be that way. I want it to be something that they just pick up on their own. But I feel like maybe that motivation factor, we need to look at how I can incorporate that better into my classroom everyday kind of use.
I think that makes a really good point. And I want to point out that, Helen, you work with adults, don't you?
Yep.
Yeah. And Emily, you work with middle school
High school.
and middle school?
Just high school.
Just high school. So just so everybody can know, this is a question that reaches beyond just one age group, let's say. It's not like, oh, those high schoolers, right? But I still sense that there are sort of two issues there. One would be, and let me just take a moment because I'm managing the room. So Jennifer, I'm making you, and Penny, you're already in power, right? Okay, good. To let people in. Great. So I still sense two issues here. One would be, it's really great to read. Here's a book. I hope you'll do that on your own. And we know that also wouldn't happen with a lot of students. So they need some way for you to easily create a requirement, I think. Does anybody have any insight doing that with their students? Is anybody using either Canvas or whatever your platform is to create a requirement that students have to complete of daily use? Yeah, Lynn.
I just got in on the very tail end of this. So I do require it. It's in their homework, but I can't, just like anything, I can't make them do it. So those who are doing it see the benefit and they willingly do it.
Okay. So how about we say that not everyone recognizes the benefit because they haven't done it to recognize the benefit. And you want to create a requirement that isn't burdensome. Is that how you might feel, Emily? Like you don't want a big burdensome thing. How about a screen capture of all of their check marks for that day? Right? Because they always have their daily lesson plan. This is one of the great benefits of the app is that it comes with a recommendation for that day. And they don't get the check marks unless they actually spend the time doing it. Has anyone tried anything like that? Any thoughts or any innovations on that idea?
That's kind of what I did with my pronunciation class this past semester. I did make it a requirement. They got minimal points for, just basically it was 1 point a day. And it wasn't a great percentage of their grade, but it, is a small part of their homework. And I just posted in chat an example of a graphic that I used. Again, I was teaching at a community college. My students and I were also in a WhatsApp group together. I created a WhatsApp group because that's okay when you're adults. And so every day I posted a little meme that I created in Canva, and it was a motivational thing. And I did that for 2 weeks at the beginning of the semester after I introduced Blue Canoe. And I got really good response after I started doing that. Students were like, oh, thank you for the reminder. It was just something they forgot to do. And so, and I posted them at different times of the day. And, some were kind of humorous, some were just kind of motivational. But sometimes what I told them is you're building a habit. Changing your pronunciation is a habit, and getting used to using this app is a habit, and it takes a while to do that. And some of us just need reminders to do that each day.
Yeah, and so what you're describing there is sort of a leaderboard, not a leaderboard, sorry, more like a social media concept of pushing it as an idea. And I think that's really important because it's not something that students are used to. Usually whatever they do with technology is at school. Would we agree? Is that kind of the paradigm? They go to the computer lab or they use something on campus. But this is something that's going to walk with them off into their outside of school life. And you're asking them to not let go of, I have a to-do that's outside of class with technology. It's its own unique little thing, I think. So coming up with those, Canva, if anybody wants tools, we can always talk about that. But I'll mention that Fridays at 5, we have always a gathering of teachers exploring technology. So if you're, looking for this kind of a tip and want to explore the technology of it, let us know and we'll, schedule a day for Canva and get into that. It's really easy to use graphics, for example. But the big idea here is to promote it because you have to plant that seed in them, right? Good. The other, I was listening to Emily. So it was, students might not do it if they're not required, even though we want to think they will. But then there's also just that assumption we can make that learners really know how to use apps and that they're savvy. Does anybody feel like that? Like they should, right? I mean, of course they're younger than me, so they must be really savvy. But
Yeah,
actually digital literacy is not as high as we might imagine. Thoughts on that, Helen?
Well, I just wanted to clarify that the 50% who have not engaged haven't even logged in. And they tell me they can't log in, they can't log in, they can't log in. It's over and over and over. And I don't think it's that hard, honestly. But so I haven't really got to the root of what this barrier is there.
Right. So as far as the logistics of getting students on board, I'm going to show you what we have available for you in the teacher resource library of Blue Canoe. So over here, and maybe Jennifer or Penny, you could grab the URL and share that with folks. This is our teacher page. If you come down at the bottom of any page, I'll just kind of scroll down quickly. We can always find the educator resources. So I'm just kind of showing you if you were to land at bluecanoe.com. We do have this resource for you. And as we come down, we've got quite a bit here waiting for you. And it can look like so much, but let me just point out a couple of things that are useful from the beginning. When it comes to getting started, student instructions for using Blue Canoe. And by the way, we're reorganizing this. So if you think that should be at the top, I agree. But that's here for you with screen captures. So if you're among those who have not even yet onboarded students, this will be a key document for you. So here it is loading for you. Dun, dun, dun. And so what's nice about that is now you are beyond words, right? You are using words, but they're able to use these visuals to know exactly what to do, A, B, C, etc. Okay. And I can even grab that URL and share that with you. So that's one for you to know about. And then I'm just grabbing that in the chat. So you can download that right now if that pertains to you. Okay. That includes some of those streamlined steps that Penny just described, including having one common password for everybody. So that makes it really easy. It's the word confidence, all lowercase. Okay. If we come back here, there we go. The next thing we'd really want to think about is, you want to walk them into the app and they're there usually on Zoom. How many of you are teaching face-to-face?
I will be.
One person. Okay. So when you're face-to-face, it's a little easier, right? Because they're right there and you can at least, walk up to them to some distance and see where they are. And it's not as easy for them to hide behind the blank screen if that's what's happening, like in Emily's class sometimes, right? Just because I've been there, I saw that and I know that phenomenon, right? If you're teaching online, don't forget that you can do things like hold up your camera, you hold up your phone so you can actually see where they are, or hold up your phone when you get to the stage that matches this visual. And that way you don't really have to look at their phone, but they're holding it up because it matches. It's kind of like raising their hand and proving that they're there. And that way you can have a dedicated session to just say the next 20 minutes are making sure that you're in that app. Once they're in the app, they're going to encounter a get started activity. And I'm going to share my screen so you can see what this looks like here. Okay, so if you already have, there we go, that's my phone. All right, so if you already have Blue Canoe on your phone, you might forget what that looks like. But like now, I'm already inside. I've already finished the introduction. But if you go over to the More tab, you will, hold on one second here. Oh, come on. Everything's behaving a little differently because I can't see. But all right, there we go. Over here in the More tab, underneath this right corner, is where you can find those first lessons again. So just know that when they get in, they're going to see this first lesson and they'll walk through. And so they may get stuck saying, oh, if they X out of this, they won't see this home page the way we want them to see it quite. And they won't see this as actively as they want to see it either. They might even say it's not working or it's broken or something. So it's so important for you to know in advance that they probably haven't finished. And Penny, can you add what they're going to see in Klipfolio when somebody hasn't finished with the lesson?
Yeah, so everyone now, and this is kind of where Lynn got sort of caught up as well. She had some folks who were pre our change. So some show up in Klipfolio, some don't. But now anyone starting with us will show up in Klipfolio and there'll be a status column. In that status column, it will read one of three things. One is unregistered, and then there'll be the password confidence. That is their temporary password, so you have it handy. And then that unregistered, they haven't done anything. Registered means that they've started the process. We know their name. And active means that they have completed those tutorials that Karen just talked about. So there's a multi-stage process. Unregistered, haven't done anything. Registered, we have their name. They've at least done the front part of it, and then those tutorials. And once they've done the tutorials, they are considered active.
Okay. In fact, I don't know if you have Klipfolio drawn up there, Penny. If you want to show anybody what things look like, just let me know. You know, we can have you show. Can I see a raise of hands again? Because I'm looking in at everybody's faces and know we all have slightly different pieces of this puzzle. Is this speaking? Who is this speaking to right now? As far as getting that first lesson, getting all the way in the app. Has this clarified anything more for folks? Can you just hold up a hand?
Well, it's
Then I know
help.
who else has other issues. Okay, great. So that's a help. Klipfolio. How many people want more information about Klipfolio? You have a raise of hands? And I'm just going to make my screen bigger. Can we hold those up? Great. So more about Klipfolio. I see about 5. Maybe we'll do a breakout room in just a moment about Klipfolio. What other blocks or challenges are you facing that haven't been mentioned yet? And I'm looking in the chat as well. But please speak up. Do the tutorials pop up when the students first start the app? Upon signing in and setting up their preferences, which is part of getting their account logged into, yes, the first thing they'll see is this introductory lesson, which is a tutorial. And it's sort of many things at once. It gets them used to touching, it gets them used to color vowels, and it gets them used to recording themselves and noticing that there's feedback. So we've been working on that over and over and continue developing it to make it a multivitamin and a good way to set them up for success. Other blocks. How many of you feel like you need to feel yourself a little more prepared to support Blue Canoe in terms of the methodology, like color vowel methodology? Is anyone feeling like that? Okay, Michael, I see you. With that, I want to, today basically is a check-in on blocks or challenges. And so it's not that I'm going to teach color vowel right now, but do know that, we have all kinds of support, including a number of videos in the educators channel there that help get you up and running. And we also have an ongoing community every Friday at 5 that is a great place to ask questions. And we just touch on different topics each week, but they all pertain to teaching English and teaching online, sort of that intersection of what color vowel provides in both arenas, right? So I'm going to ask Jennifer to post a link to our training page, and you can sign up for any of those free events. The other way to kind of start feeling, getting the idea of color vowel and really what it provides, because it's quite revolutionary, is that we have a Thursday night event that is for both you and your students. If you really think about it, how often do you get invited to an event that's for you and your students? Almost, I don't know that there are many of those. Luella, your face, you're like, no, never, right? Like, I've never been invited to an event with my students. So Thursday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern, this audaciously late time for us, is a time when our students are often available. And we come together and I lead the group through these color vowel informed routines that raise your awareness of how color vowel works to activate spoken English, and that students have been finding to be, really engaging. And so it starts to create a central space where you and your learners are all involved in this method. And it's not that you have to know everything. They're going to actually bring part of that to the table too. Okay, so I encourage you to bring students or to invite them over there. With the minor students, folks under the age of 18, that one you'll have to think about carefully. We record it, but we don't publish it. And of course it's family friendly, but just think about if there are any implications for that, you'll have to figure that out from your school side. But it is open to all and it's free.
Could you remind me the name of the training again? So I'll be looking.
Sure. Yeah, so that's called Pure Practice on Thursday nights. Thank you for asking, Helen. Pure Practice is on Thursday nights. We'll be doing one tonight. I consider it a pronunciation workout. It's only about 15 minutes of the actual doing of this. Think of it as Zumba for spoken English, right? It's where we actually do spoken English together. And then we take Q&A at the end. So all told, it's half hour, not longer.
Mhm.
I'm going to try to be sure to limit myself. I tend to want to go forever.
The time again?
10 p.m. Eastern. So New York time zone.
10 p.m.?
So that's 10 p.m. Yep.
Oh, which works well for me. Yeah.
Yeah, we've done that for our teachers and students in Asia. So it should be friendly to you in Korea. That's great. Okay. So apart from that, it's just to say, again, I don't want to go deep on any one topic, but if you know that you need more on Color Vowel, come to me at Color Vowel. I have my two hats. One is I'm the head of education at Blue Canoe to help design everything. But over on the training side, Jennifer and I are over there to support you as a teacher. All right. Other blocks. Would anybody like, I don't know, an example of what students should look like when they're playing and using Blue Canoe? Wouldn't that be nice? We've done that. Let me share that with you. That's also on our page, and I'll show you again where that might be. So I'm moving over to our educator resource page. And if you come down, let's see. If one of you sees it before me, Penny, I'm looking for the tour of Blue Canoe videos. I'm so glad we're reorganizing this because I'm having trouble finding things in the moment myself.
They are not in here. I'd go to YouTube. I can go to YouTube and get those.
Thank you. I'll go to my YouTube page because I know where they are by chance.
Okay.
We will I'm going to post right now the link to this playlist because we've created 3 tours of Blue Canoe that are not just showing but doing. And your learners, you can actually include these videos as lessons on those first days so that they really learn how to do this. I'm stuck on a computer that's not mine. Let's see what's going on. This is not my account. Could you grab those, Penny?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm going to need to not. I had a tech fail right before I started up today, so I'm on a new computer within minutes before this meeting. So sorry about that. All right. And so these, which Penny's grabbing, and maybe you can put those in the chat when you find them. These allow students to see what we really expect. And so what I'm going to do right now while we're waiting for that is just show you. Remember, everybody's hardwired with these phones, and we really are. Like, we're wired to hold them and do something and then keep walking down the street, essentially. Like, right, we multitask with these things and they're part of our body. With Blue Canoe, they're going to need to slow down, and that's not going to happen naturally. We're asking them to use this object in a really slightly different way, quite a different way. What does that way look like? They're going to need to hold it, and they're going to need to use their other hand to actually guide their speech so that they follow the rhythm of English, because their brains are already wired in a different way to match the rhythms and sounds of their first language. So we use this brain-based approach that's very effective, but it's also kind of tricky to convince them to do. And that's why it's so helpful to have videos that show what this looks like, and why Thursday nights Pure Practice involves so much body work. We're moving, we're using our hands, and we're speaking in rhythm. So all of this is oriented around using the app as a way to mirror your speech against the models before they ever record. Okay. Raise of hands if you've played at least, say, a round of Color It Out, our card game in Blue Canoe. Okay, so the first game in there is, and the first one that'll be released after they make it through that intro is Color It Out, and I'll show it to you briefly right now. Let's see here. There we go, and we're finding, Penny's looking. Did you put that in the chat there, Penny, or no? Not yet.
I was going to put them all as one, all of them, all the links. I was trying to do as one unit so they were together, but.
Oh, great. There's a playlist. Do you have a playlist, or maybe that's me who has a playlist?
Yeah, I'm looking.
All right. So if we come out of this and come right over to, say, our main menu, we really have, I want to point out sort of 3 activities, and the dictionary would be the main things that they do. And then there's some videos that are also included in their lesson plans. But the 3 activities are 2 different word games, and Color It Out is the let's call it the keystone. It's the one that includes voice recognition that can correct them at the word level. Okay, so Color It Out, when you play a game, it's going to start off with dealing cards, and each word is guided by a very simple markup. I'll go first. Silver pin income, silver pin billing. Can everyone hear that enough, or is it pretty far away? Okay. And so when they're playing, they're going to look around for a card that has one matching color with the card in play. And when they find that one, let's just say they're not sure, they don't know what they're looking at, they can sort to find, oh, actually I have no cards that match. So now I'll come here. They now have a card. So now they're going to play a turn, and that turn is going to involve the 2 cards that have matching color vowels. So even now, even if they don't know color vowel yet, they can go to help me say my turn, and this would be the first step, because listen to what's going to happen. Silver pin billing, silver pin proposition. They can listen to that as many times as they want, and they can practice with it. So more than can, remember that as a teacher, you're going to need to train them to do this. And then the can part of it comes with, choosing not to, but they have to be able to. So you're going to do a little bit of learner training there with the videos that Penny's pulling up, where I actually model this. And so you can kind of see me up in the corner when I press this. I'm going to use my hand to notice what I'm hearing. Silver pin billing, silver pin proposition. Okay, so I'm able to start noticing where are the key stresses in these. When I've listened enough, I record silver pin billing, silver pin proposition. And that's when it's sent up to the cloud, it's listened to, and the learner's going to get some feedback based on what they said. Okay. So the goal here is to run out of cards. It's like Uno. And if you want, bring a deck of Uno if you're face to face with your students and have them play, and then you can move over. If you are face to face, though, you don't have to get Uno. We also have the card game in hard copy form, so that they can actually start here and then bridge into technology. That's another option. And Jennifer, would you add the link to our shop where people can see the game? Okay. So as you can see here with the game, I can move it here. Each card is marked up again with that underline protocol. So they know exactly where the stress is, and they know what sound it is. Purple shirt is person, and not say person or person, like in Spanish would be persona, right? So we have a lot happening here that you as speakers of English may not realize is so necessary for learner success. But we've built that into Blue Canoe, and you can use the 2 together in the classroom to bridge what it is they're doing outside of class. Okay. Again, what we're aiming for is what are they doing the other 23 hours of the day, so to say. They learn with you, but then how do they reinforce that learning in any meaningful way? And Blue Canoe is supposed to be that wraparound piece, but only, of course, if they make that habit and understand why. I'm going to pause there for questions and comments and other blocks that you'd like me to address today. Would you like more of this, or because I have more, but I do want to be open to what you need. And anyone monitoring the chat, anything else we need to talk about before I continue?
I'm happy to do a Klipfolio session whenever you're ready, Karen. It's up to you. Without so many questions about that, I'm getting folks reset up.
Okay, great.
May I ask a question?
Sure, please.
So there have been times when I've been using it in my class and I'll mention a word and then I realize, wait a minute, I don't see where that's going to fit on the chart. What do you do when that happens?
Great. You have Blue Canoe right there in your phone. So one quick way is to go to the dictionary and look it up, right? So that solves your immediate problem. Yeah?
No,
No?
because what I mean is, I mean, I understand the sounds and all of that. I understand the chart, but there are times when I feel like, but it doesn't fit anywhere on the chart, you know? So, and I had a list and I was trying to bring that up so that I could point out some of those words, and I can't find it. I don't know why, but
Okay. Well, let me start with the audacious statement that every word does have a place on the chart, but we're not really, we don't naturally come to the table aware of how these words are categorized, meaning, we all know how to alphabetize words. We all know how to divide words into syllables because we were raised with that. Spelling tests and preparing to type and where do you put the hyphen, all of that we're highly acculturated to. So if you find it tricky to organize a word by its stressed syllable and recognizing its vowel sound in there, it is tricky at first. And so that's why we do so much around training and the free events and all of that exposure, because we're actually building your own phonological awareness beyond its natural state. It's sort of an excessive state of that kind of awareness that we usually don't need. But as English teachers, that's my whole mission, is to increase teacher phonological awareness, because it's not typically trained in master's programs or training programs, and it's not something that our brains allow us to do naturally. So the next time you come across a word that you don't feel fits, looking it up in the dictionary is a good first step, because you'll say, well, here's what they think about this word. Then you can say, does that work? And if it doesn't, that's when you can come to us in the community. You can write to anybody on the Blue Canoe team and we will answer not just what color it is, but why that might be a tricky word to identify for you. Okay. And
okay.
I know that may seem odd because we're used to kind of having all of the tools available to us ahead of our students, right? Does that help answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. I wish that I had my example list and I don't. So, but
I was, can I ask, what is it that you feel that it doesn't fit? Is it because you can't find where the stress is, or you can't identify what the vowel is, what the color is? Can you just speak a little bit more about how you feel that it doesn't fit?
yes, it's more that I feel like it doesn't fit any of the color vowels that are on the chart. And again, if I had my list with me, I could tell you some specific examples, but I don't.
Good. That's so hard to come up with this after the fact. I get that. Jennifer?
I was going to say just some, quick and dirty ways to try each color on, using your knowledge that you have, try each color and isolate it, grab that vowel. For example, information. So and then say, is that red pepper? Information, and try them on. And that is such a valuable thing for your students to see you doing, because it helps them understand the process. And so it's always, this is one of those great times to let your students see you, that I don't know that answer. Let's work on that together. It's not even I'll get back to you on that. Let's do that together. And just, this is, again, something that would come up if you want to talk on, my Color Vowel community or something on Facebook, but it could be that you're being swayed by the consonant that follows it, like an L or an M or an N, which affects the vowel quality. So that would be something that you could talk to other color vowelists about.
And this goes for everybody, if you're at a school that has not yet had basics training for Color Vowel, it can be life-changing for your career, just to become so much more aware of things that are hidden from us otherwise. And so some reasons that Jennifer just mentioned, we have a lot of consonant controls when it comes to vowel perception that we have to have ways to unwire so that we can know what's really there. When you do know how to do that, it becomes much simpler to communicate with your students because they don't have the same perception that you have. Their perception is shaped through their first language. So in a way, we all have to learn how to release ourselves from the control of our first language in order to hear language in this new way. So our controlled vowels may seem not to fit anywhere at first, but if you spend some time either through our free workshops or with me, you can come to an introductory webinar, and that can be really helpful. Those are free. Or your school can arrange a training, and we can provide you with, an understanding of where everything fits. All of the vowel sounds of English are here. So it's going to find a place. It's just a matter of adjusting a little bit to some of our notions of what's happening in a word. Okay. But I really appreciate you raising it because that's precisely sort of the challenge. This is different. It's worth the effort it takes to make this change to different because suddenly we'll be free of just talking about words as the way they're spelled. And we all know deep down that spelling is not the guide that leads learners to success in speaking. Yeah.
So if we wanted to reach out for clarification about why a certain vowel is marked as a red pepper word, is it appropriate to use the button on here is that a place to ask for help? Or would you prefer to email?
If you happen, Helen studies with me personally, so she knows that my email is Karen@colorvowel.com, and she knows Jennifer. So it's, guess what, Jennifer@colorvowel.com. We'll answer your questions, whether they come to our personal email. You can do it right through the app, and Penny sends it off, or we all get it. So depending, but we really do answer every question we get through the app as well as through personal. So they're all leading to the same place.
Or if you're a Facebook person, just go to Color Vowel Chart, which is our public facing page, and write it right there. Or if you are, if you have access to our private community, my Color Vowel community, just type it in there too. And about, half a dozen people will jump on it right away and have a discussion about what it sounds like in, their dialect. So.
Yeah. Just adding to the chat, our Facebook page for the public, if you use Facebook. If you don't, then our website is really a great place to go. And again, everything there reaches us. Okay. Our free webinars are listed on that training page that's up there in the chat. And I'll be offering one, I think, later this month. So, sign up for that. It's a great kind of training, retraining offer, and it's always free. Now, along those lines, I'm going to look back over here. Penny, you want to talk to anything that you've posted recently here?
Let's see, Jennifer and I had been going back and forth regarding Color It Out. And so if you find it's very easy for us to customize Color It Out by category, on that educator resources page that Karen was showing, and we have that URL, I can put the URL in again. There is a document that reads vocabulary words in Color It Out. And there are topics in there. And so it's very easy for us to customize that to your level of learner. So I want to speak to that.
Can I just say why I asked about that? Because I saw words like warranty and proposition, and if you have middle schooler, high schoolers, or even sort of general ed, community college, they might not need those business words. So you might want more academic words, more sort of general living kind of words, and that can be customized. So it'll be more appealing to them, feel more relevant to their situation. Karen, you're muted.
Thank you. That idea of customizing the subset of words in Color It Out or in the lessons is applicable to both. So when your school purchases licenses, that's when we get to decide, which words will you have, and otherwise you have the wide open version with all of the sets. Okay. I think I wouldn't want to model one game without modeling our other keystone activity, and that is all of our lessons. So again, if you're brand new to this, know that we have a variety of lessons based on a range of topics, And you can turn on or off for your students certain topics that may not be, of relevance to them. So, for example, beginning customer service might be relevant, but you might decide to turn off medical or technology because it's about coding, or say finance, which is really for accountants. It's that level, maybe business majors or something. So you can always customize the content from a classroom level, not for each student, but rather for a classroom under you as a teacher. Okay. In those lessons, this is what I find the most revolutionary for students is that let's just take for a moment school. Here's school down here. And if we take something like the math and science lessons, we have a number of lessons in each of those categories, as you can see here. And then within each of these, if I come into one, it's a series of 6 sentences. So the lessons are relatively short in appearance, but once they know how to actually use the lesson, that is a solid 10 minutes of practice, not study, but practice actually speaking English. And I'll just kind of walk through one sentence to show you, possibly two. If you think again about how our default sort of assumption about apps is that you click through and make it work for you and it does all the work. Instead, we need to help students know to slow down. They'd be very tempted to just record themselves right away. And there's a really good chance that without training, that's exactly what they'll do. And boom, 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 they're done. 6 sentences. If they slow down though and listen to the model, geology is the study of the earth. I would listen again. Watch my hand. Geology is the study of the earth. And then I might mirror it. Geology is the study of the earth. So just in 3 repetitions, I've listened, I've charted it out with my hand to hear where the stresses or the beats are, and then I've spoken with it to practice hearing myself with the same timing, the same notes, okay? And I might do that even a few more times if the words are unfamiliar. I can also break it down and listen to each line. So I could do this. Olive sock geology, olive sock geology, olive sock geology, right? I can do that with all 3 of those phrases. And listen one more time. Geology is the study of the earth. Great. And now I'm ready to record. So then I'd say, geology is the study of the earth. So let's just say, as I did here, that I'm still perceiving and producing sounds through the lens of my first language. I'm going to receive some kind of feedback, and I wanted to give you a chance to see what that might look like. That is the cloud doing its work. Okay. So I received 57%, and that's a very global kind of, say, a Gestalt score. It gives you an idea, okay? You can now listen to yourself and the model. So that would be the first step a student would take, instead of hitting the next button or just re-recording. So you see how your role is so central to making Blue Canoe a success with our learners. Left to their own devices, it won't get to do its magic. But with a little help from you, they will slow down. Let's listen. Geology is the study of the earth. And then I can listen to the model. Geology is the study of the earth. And then I'm thinking, well, what did I really do wrong? Because if I don't hear it the first time and I produce an error, how would I know? So I can click on each of these highlighted words. You're stressing the wrong syllable. Use your open hand and spend more time on the underlined sound. So notice that I said geology. Remember that? Geology is the da-da-da of the da-da-da. So geology has the wrong stress, and that's the feedback I just got. I can come here and hear it. Olive sock geology. I can see the stress pattern. Geology, where the line is, again, the hand. The hand is the extension of the arm that creates the time that is the stress of English. Just give it a try. Geology. Geology. Great. So it's this funny thing, the arm is built into our body. We happen to have it at all times. And it's a perfect measure of the time relative to the other syllables that we need to spend on the main stress of the word that makes that word what it is, right? So then they can come back once they've finished there, listen to their other problem. You're using the wrong color vowel here, blue moon, instead of A cup of mustard. Ah. So I said studi, and which is a pretty, reasonable mispronunciation. Estudiar for Spanish speakers would be one example. And so now I not only know that it was wrong, which, that would be something a normal app would do. You're wrong. But now I not only know that, but I know what I need to do. And this is when they come back to you possibly and they'll say, you know what, teacher, I'm having a lot of trouble, or I don't understand how to make the mustard sound. So now what they're doing is they're naming the thing they have trouble with. This is classic, fabulous student self-advocacy. I'm having trouble with division. Can you help me? So now they're doing that for English. I'm having trouble with a cup of mustard. Can you help me? Right? And we provide you with ongoing support training strategies so that you can help them make the sounds of English that they don't have in their first language. And so we can go back to our feedback here. And notice now I'm going to go back and listen again, practice again. I may say, oh my gosh, I assumed that was a blue word. Now I already know how to make mustard. I'll do that. So I record again. Geology is the study of the earth. And so notice what's happening here is I've made other kinds of errors like earth, but we provide prioritized feedback. So they're not going to get all corrections all the time. So now I got study, but earth was not right. I said earth instead of earth. Let's see what that looks like. This is a purple shirt. Word. Okay. So then here I hear, I heard you using black cat. I said earth. So it heard something that was more in that front section of my vowel range. And I can listen to it again and correct it. I have a third turn waiting for me. And we're still on the first sentence. Isn't that neat? So again, if we teach them how to really make this last, that one lesson is going to provide them with so much depth. And that translates into confidence is what we found, that when they know how English works, they're able to have confidence about the words that they know internally, but don't yet use. So if you have quiet students who don't speak up much in their other classes outside of working with you, that's often an issue of confidence that we address here. Questions and comments? Okay, Klipfolio Fest. I think it's time for fun with Klipfolio. Klipfolio is our teacher dashboard that allows you to have insights about what students are doing with their time. Are they spending enough time in Blue Canoe? Are they completing their lessons? How often are they completing a recommended daily practice? That kind of thing. Penny, you want to show a couple things and talk to that a little bit? You're muted right now. There you go.
All right, thanks, Karen. Okay, so coming into Klipfolio, there's a couple of things. So when you come in, you'll get access through a link from us. You'll receive an email that has a link in it, and you'll go through that link and simply type in a password and hit submit, and you're in. If you don't do that, if you go to Klipfolio proper, it won't link you to our organization where we have you linked to your students. So really important to use that. So once you're into Klipfolio, you will have a little bit different view than I have, but what I use most readily when I'm in Klipfolio are the table of users. That's my go-to. Come in here and I check our table of users. I will come back to this in a minute. You can check out every student on an individual basis to see exactly what they're doing. And then go into group stats. So kind of an overall, I use this least really at the size. These are for very large organizations, hundreds of people when we have our commercial accounts where they're most interested in how many folks are actually using the app on a regular basis. But overall, so table of users. This is, don't look too much at all the data on here because this is our Blue Canoe org, our all of our own test accounts and what have you. But really, really handy. This is the status column I was talking about earlier, where there's three status options: the unregistered, registered, and active. Lynn pointed out that she had an inactive registration as well that was also a carryover from a legacy issue. But you all should be on the newer system with just the three options. So that's the column you're looking for. If for some reason you've been with us for quite a while and you are on the older system, there might be a unregistered and in parens a unique password. That would be the only exception, but otherwise this is it. Last played, really handy. Any of these columns can be sorted in ascending, descending. Just click any of these headers. And so when I come in here, I'm really curious, last play days, how many days overall folks are playing. Goal met days, this GMD, goal met days, this week, last week. These are meant to be last week, this week, quick overviews. What that means is they have reached that 100 points per day, how many days they've done that. The app is designed in quantitatively to, because that we can measure, we can build it to measure 100 points. And it has, those 100 points have been designed to take about 10 minutes to create that regular habit. So this is actually literally looking at how many days they have met that 100-point goal. If they do today's plan, they meet that goal. Makes it real, real simple. Of course, if there's, for whatever reason, you want to veer off and have them explore, you can do that. But that's what that goal met days are. Again, this week, last week, for kind of a quick overview. Total points. This is just a nice look at how many points, how who your real power users are. Again, this week and last week, just for a quick view at who's doing what. And app version. This is important to us because we are regularly updating the app, and there are bug fixes, there are new features, and so staying current and knowing that your folks are on the latest version. If you see they're not, then and you'll know because you'll receive our emails. But if they aren't and they seem to have a bug, one of the first go-tos is, do they have the latest version? We may have fixed it already potentially. Otherwise, you could very well have seen a new bug. And then you can click on any name to get to that individual tab. If you and then everyone will be here. You can hover over to see exactly how many points folks played each day. So that's where your usage is. When you come into the group stats and the individual stats, these will be blank. So folks, immediately this will be blank. Immediately it looks like, oh no, is this broken? Kind of a quirky UI, but if you go ahead and put some dates in there, that should fill it in nicely. So that would be the overview, Karen.
Great. So since we're coming up to the top of the hour, I thought we could, it's not that we have to stop. So if you have questions and want to stay behind, you can. But I thought maybe a nice way to finish up would be, first of all, just to kind of speak out, your intention for your next step. Because of course, we all want to take, the advantage of a resource that you're invested in. And so it's just about identifying one step that you can take, and then know that we're always here to help you. We really are. So don't hesitate to reach out. But does anybody want to share any sort of like an intention? And you don't have to, but is there a next step that you want to take? Like a sentence worth?
I think at this point, it is going to be about, how can I make this a part of my routine, right? How do I settle this into something that the students are used to doing, whether it's 3 times a week or it's a daily reminder type of thing, just something that it's kind of built in. I think in high school or any K through 12 school, I think we get kind of bogged down by what we're doing with curriculum, and we have these extra things coming in. We forget to set aside time for those things, and I think that that's probably where I need to work on that.
Great, Emily. Well, one way to start in, if you just think of bookends, the beginning of the lesson before you dig into curriculum would be, what word did you notice in the last couple days? You know, give me a word that you noticed. What was interesting about it? And have them model it, where it could, you know, be a screen capture that they keep if you teach them how to do a screen capture. At the end of the lesson, that's an easy one, because the Color Vowel organizer that we provide access to, that whether it's a digital one or a paper one, you just have them pick one color and review those words with the hand, and they're all the words that you just covered in the curriculum. So that second bookend is tied directly to what you've just done in your lesson, and that actually eases things, right? So that sounds like a great next step.
It's been really nice every once in a while to, when we're doing a reading and the kids will come across a word and stop and say, you know, I don't know how to pronounce this. And for those that have been through the training, which is most of my students, it's a really good place to stop and say, oh yeah, this is this color word, and then we do it. So I think once the kids have learned it, it's a really, really valuable tool that way for when you're actually reading aloud together.
I had the great pleasure of being in Emily's classroom with her students, and 3 times actually before Christmas. So we spent that time together and just watched how students, if you give them that space and the time to step in, they actually become the explorers of the language rather than the recipients. You know, they start to ask questions and sort of question their assumptions. So it's pretty exciting stuff. Great. Any other intentions and Emily, let's keep talking. You know, we have ways to help. We have developed some lesson plans that we perfected and piloted in Emily's classroom. So if you're not sure how to get started, we have lesson plans for you. Okay.
Oh, good.
Okay. Well, good. I saw in the chat that Lynn mentioned, and Lynn is, I think, had to go. I'm not sure if she's still in the room, but she's one of our just fabulous Color Vowel teacher, and she has devised a way to play Color It Out in, as you can see here, I'm just going to turn on my light so you can see a little better. Oh no, that's ruining it. Let's do that. So we can actually play Color It Out in this way too, so that as you bridge to face-to-face classrooms, they're already familiar with the game as something that everybody plays together. So this is a different setup than Uno, where you hold a fan of cards, but this is the discard deck, and all of these are the cards in play. And all we're going to do is we can just take, I think, a few turns before we sign off, but I'll take the first turn, and then maybe Michael, maybe you can take a second turn, and I'll show you how, okay? Just to kind of prove that you can be brand new to this. So just wait, it's okay. So here's my turn. I'm going to match either Blue Moon or that black cat icon, and I think I'll choose this one, okay? So I'm going to put these two close to each other, and I'm going to read, I can even turn this around if I want, and I'll read the first word and the second word, and I'll do it while using my hand to mark the stress, and I'll say it like this: black cat calendar, black cat laughing. You see how that worked? So the two black words are one after the other. So it's black cat calendar, black cat laughing, and any temptation to say laughing is now overridden by the work we've just done, the 5 preceding beats. Okay. I now replace that card with another card. So now, Michael, you're going to match either this black cat word or this silver pin word. Which card or which word would you like me to play near one of those?
I better do is it the silver pin? Is that what it is?
Yeah, silver pin. Would you
Okay.
like his or women or which?
With women, yeah.
Great.
So
So I'll go ahead and turn this around.
you're gonna
so it's a little easier
flip
to
that
read.
over, and then I'm gonna do this with my hand, right? So silver pin still, silver pin women.
Great.
Is that right?
That's it.
Okay.
Ta-da!
How many
Right, so
points
you just basically
how many points do I
you get 12 points because I like you. No, I mean, it's no points at this point, because all we're doing at this point is a cooperative game to explore these words. But when you play competitively like Uno, it's the first person to run out of cards. Okay.
I see.
And so we keep going in that fashion.
Yep.
Yeah. There's another card down, and it looks like we're still in the business of silver. And I'll go ahead and put this down for a third player. Can I have a volunteer to play this turn? One other volunteer.
Don't be shy.
Stacy said she would volunteer.
Oh, Stacy, go for it. Here we go.
Oh, yes, I'll volunteer. Thank you. Silver pin women, silver pin until.
Fantastic. So, I mean, this is a word that to us as English speakers, we're like, yeah, that's until. You can sound it out. But it looks to me as a Spanish speaker like until. That's what that word is like to me. Until. So just if you think it's a simple word, it's not so simple. All right, so this is just a kind of a feel for what we do at Color Vowel. I want to thank you for being here. The purpose of today's meeting was to support you in taking your next step. We know there were a lot of us here today. Please reach out and tell me how I can help you. And either I or Jennifer or Penny or one of us will connect with you. You know, if you're working with a coordinator like Stacy, then we can also work with her. But each one of you has a valid connection to us and we want to hear from you, okay? Thanks so much. If there are any final, questions, you're welcome to stay in the room, but I just want to say again, thanks and have a great day.